Hi ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SA Accounting Academy. Here's a short clip on one of our previous webinars. I hope that you really do enjoy it.
Good day ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the South African Accounting Academy, a warm welcome to the webinar on the CIPC Compliance Checklist. My name is Lettie Janse van Vuuren and I will be your facilitator for the next 2 hours. Let's quickly just run through on the slides. There we go. All right. Remember, all our training that we offer here at SIIA is recognized for CPD Hours by the relevant professional bodies because our policy is compliant with IFAC's IES 7. After the webinar, we will also be holding a 15-minute Q&A time. You are also more than welcome to send through your questions that relate to the topic. Send through your questions as the webinar progresses, because I will be online live and I will be fielding the questions as you send them through. So what I'll do during the webinars, whatever Q&As I've got, I'll summarize them onto a sheet for you, and then we can work our way through that after the webinar. All right. If you have any other questions or comments, feel free to always email those to info@accountingacademy.co.za. Just make sure that make sure that it gets to me. Make sure that you include CIPC checklist in your topic line, and then they'll know it's a question that relates to this that needs to come to me. All right. So if you can just do that, just for purposes of today's webinar as well, please try and stick to the topics of your questions. All right. We'd love to help you with all your questions, but our time is limited on these ad hoc webinars, and the time is dedicated to one topic. So let's try and stick to that today, please. All right. On the agenda, you'll see we're going to start with the introduction. We're going to start off with a base notice, where we heard about this for the first time, this checklist, what the effective date is. That's the most important. And then we're going to look at the actual compliance checklist, because you can't see it. It's not a document that you download from anywhere. It's a document that you complete online. So I've given you all this why, which companies have to comply, what happens if you lie. Let's look at some screenshots. Look at the detailed content, how to fix something if you've submitted something incorrect, and who to phone, who's your phone a friend if you want to send an email. All right. And then under the bonus material, I've given you the most important one there, is this one highlighted in yellow called Compliance Checklist Working Paper. All right. So you are more than welcome. If you don't rate us after the webinar, you will be sent a link, and you can always provide us with some detailed feedback at that stage. But to questions, like I said, feel free to ask them during the webinar as well as afterwards. All right. So let's get started with the introduction. Let's start off with some of the functions of CIPC. I think it's important that we understand this, because the main function that CIPC has, in my mind, they have to monitor compliance with the Companies Act. But they do also have all of the other things on here on their plate. So you'll see there's quite a lot that they have to do. But the majority of things that we have to worry about, and why we worry about them monitoring us, is because it's to do with monitoring of the compliance with the Companies Act. So promotion of compliance with the relevant legislation, this is definitely one way to promote it. They've given us the checklist, and we have to complete it. We don't have a choice. We're going to have to do it. Right. It's like the IXBRL format of the statements. They gave us an option when it all started, and now there's a hard stop functionality. You can no longer submit any annual financials. You can't submit an annual return without first uploading your XBRL financials. All right. They also have to worry about efficient and effective enforcement of relevant legislation. So we know how many companies and CCs and whatnot there are in South Africa. How do they get to every single company to know which section of the Companies Act they are not complying with? It's a daunting task. So them having these checklists to gather information for them is a very powerful tool. And we then have to be very careful how we fill out those forms. Right, because they will monitor compliance. So we can't just go and say yes, 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 yes. Not that It's unethical in the first place, but it's also we are going to be recording information that is not true. Right. The best result is not to have everybody comply 100%. It's to also look at where nobody is able to comply. I mean, if you can put in there, are you able to submit your financials within 6 months? And everybody says no. I bet you that they're going to re-look at the 6 months. Because they'll say, hello, well, nobody's able to comply with this. And in the beginning, it was a bit of a shocker. Seeing it in the audit report, now it's like a standard. Yeah, you want to fall off your seat if somebody does actually submit their financials within 6 months from their financial year end. Right. So I've just highlighted those two for you. You're more than welcome to go through the rest in your material. The next slide shows us the organizational structure of CIPC. And the reason why I thought this was important is so that you could see how the different groups work together. We've obviously got the commissioner at the top. Then we've got governance, risk, and compliance. Now, governance, risk, and compliance, yes, definitely is the majority of the sections. Right. The majority of people work in this section. There's internal audit as well, and there's strategy, which all the business groups have. But if you have a look at it, they've got in here, there's corporate registers, enforcement and compliance, which is very important. Now, it's important also to note that we all have our people that we have as contact people there within these separate departments. And it's always so nice to know that I was simply able to send an email to the generic CIPC contact, the normal inquiries at CIPC. And I got such a specific and such a nice answer back from them. It's really heartwarming to know that their functions, their systems do work. All right. So this is just to help you with understanding where they fit in. Okay, it is much wider than that, because they've got sections in here called under patents, and there's creative industries as well. Right, there's all the information technologies, right? Business intelligence groups, there's corporate services, all of this, and then there's finance and procurement. All right. But like we said, risk, governance, and compliance, those would be the majority of the functions that go there. All right. So that's just to help you understand where this all fits in. Let's have a look at the CIPC notice that was issued. Right. So the CIPC notice that was issued, can I quickly show you what it looks like on my screen? Let me just find it. There we go. Right. You'll see that on my other screen, it says their notice 52 of 2019. And you'll notice here that it says notice of downtime, which I don't know where that actually comes from, because this was not a notice of any downtime. This was all about the company's compliance checklist that is available on e-services. Right. So just so that you know, and it does speak to this, I've summarized it on the slide for you, but look at that, it's short and sweet. Okay. Short and sweet, issued on the 13th of August. So that's exactly what the document looks like. It is available to you as a source document. Let's get back to my slides. And on the slide here, you will see, it says there, CIPC have announced that a new user-friendly service has been added to e-services for customers to declare the compliance status of their company or companies to specific sections of the Companies Act as amended. So they're making it sound like this is something that you would want to do from your side, okay? The service can be accessed by choosing the Compliance Checklist button on the Transact page of e-services. The checklist can also be completed then by selecting the relevant buttons next to each question. So they're just explaining to you how you get on there. You choose the Compliance Checklist button, but you've got to be logged in first of all. You log into e-services, then you click on Transact, and then you click on the Compliance Checklist button. So then it asks questions, and you'll say yes, no, or not applicable. You'll have to select whichever. The rollout of the Compliance Checklist was on a voluntary basis for the 4-month period from the 1st of September. And that was to allow entities to familiarize themselves with the checklist.
I hope that you enjoyed that video. For more of our webinar videos, go to www.accountingacademy.co.za. Thank you and have a lovely day.